Okay, so as you know, this class is on theory of conflict, security, and peace. So let's hear from the point of view of the presenter talking about Biafran situation. Okay.
All right.
So welcome, sir.
All right. Thank you. Thank you for having me here today. Okay, the Biafra War, also known as the Nigerian Civil War, which was between 1967 and 1970. Here's some images here. Yes, I'm sure you've seen these images before. I believe these are the Biafra rebels. This was an image used for humanitarian purposes back in the late 60s, saying, "Oh, help the children of Biafra." And now, I don't need to tell you, any of you, where Nigeria is already. I had to tell some people some years ago, but I think you already know. I think I can tell you, you already know about the three major ethnic groups of Nigeria: Yoruba, Igbo, and Hausa. Yes, the Hausas are the ones who control the government. Igbos are more the ones with money, and Yoruba, they're the people who are more into education, and they dominate Lagos. Am I correct on that one? Yeah. So, Igbo people, there's some images here. Let's see. I can skip this part. This part's so much easier. So Hausa people, soon. People up in the north. By the way, someone else told me Hausa and Fulani, although they're often considered the same, they're often not. Although they're both Muslims, they consider themselves separate groups, and sometimes Fulanis and Hausas have conflict with each other. Is that correct? All right. So, nope. Yoruba, this was the first Nigerian culture I ever heard of, and it was on a TV show, believe it or not. It's called Oz. There was a character, his name was Simon Adebisi, and his character was from Nigeria, and he was Yoruba people, and that was the first time I ever heard the word. But it's heavily influenced the Americas, by the way, Yoruba people. Let's see. Okay, now that you've seen all the pretty pictures, let's get down to business. Oh, I need my glasses, excuse me. So after less than 7 years, I believe Nigeria was gained independence back in 1960, correct? Well, after less than 7 years of independence from the British, political turmoil came, followed by a military coup. Those in charge of the military government were mainly of Hausa ethnic people, although I read later that Igbos for a while took over, but then the Hausas recaptured and there was a purge against Igbos. So after political divisions and ethnic tensions, Hausa people began to persecute Igbo. This resulted in Igbo wanting to secede and start their own country, called Biafra. Here's an image of many on the move, migrating from other parts of Nigeria down to the southeast. And this was the land that Igbos wanted to have for their own country. Now, why was everyone throwing a hissy fit? Oh yes, that's right, because 50% of the oil reserves of Nigeria were right there at the Niger Delta. Yeah, the Hausas were not having that. So let's see. It's a little slow here. Yeah, I don't need to show you all this. A little slow. Okay, and these are the two opposing guys. Forgive my pronunciation. Yakubu Gowon, who is the president of the federal military government, and I'm going to embarrass myself, Odumegwu Ojukwu.
Odumegwu Ojukwu.
I said I couldn't pronounce it right. So here are my research objectives. Why were so many countries involved in the Biafra War? And what determined the alliances in the conflict? And this one, my research in this involved realism and post-colonialism. So I wonder, it's just a wonder why there were European allies on opposing sides of the Nigerian Civil War. For example, like I said, Britain and France are supposed to be allies by 1967, yet they're taking opposite sides. Sounds kind of strange. When it comes to examining alliances in the Biafra War, as well as rivalries, it'd be appropriate through an empirical lens. Because this is a conflict that ended over 50 years ago, and documents have been declassified, and there have been changes in governments, at least three of the countries involved. Among them is Portugal. So post-colonialism plays a major role in all but 2 countries in Africa that were colonized by Europeans. Everyone, what 2 countries in Africa were never colonized by Europeans officially? Which 2? Ethiopia? Ethiopia and Liberia, right. Everyone, Ethiopia just got plain lucky, but yeah. So, but post-colonialism is especially strong in Nigeria. And as I said, the country had only gained independence 7 years prior. Not only did it have oil as a natural resource, but it has other resources such as gas, tin, rubber, cocoa, palm oil. And well, it's not human nature to have all this power, have control resource, and just suddenly let it go out of the goodness of your heart. No, that's not done. So Britain wanted to hold on to it, keeping the status quo by kind of being the shadow bosses of the central government, whoever the central government was. And an independent Biafra would be a direct threat to Britain's status quo, because they would lose control of at least 50% of the oil. Oh, and now for other selfish motives. The USSR, also known as the Soviet Union, they wanted to gain more influence in West Africa, and they were succeeding. As you know about Kwame Nkrumah and Ghana, when Ghana gained independence, and as did Guinea and Amadou Sékou Touré and all those, USSR started kind of needling their way in. They wanted influence. Why? They wanted the resources. Not because they're Soviet Union, not because they're communists. They were communists just because they were a powerful country and they saw an opportunity to take. So, have any of you heard of John Mearsheimer, the realist? He talks about war strategies, but he says, and he and other offensive realists presume that states are relentless seekers of power and influence. Britain gave the Nigerian FMG, federal military government, gave to it because the Soviet Union began to fund the Nigerian government with arms, as well as sending expert to train soldiers, as in Biafra soldiers. I'm sorry, as in train Nigerian soldiers. So Britain thought, uh-oh, the Russians are here, they're training the soldiers, they're influencing, we might lose our grip. So instead they made a bit of an alliance with the Soviet Union, instead of fighting against them for once. And anticipating they would lose their influence in the region, Britain began supplying arms and had 2 priorities: to guard the resources and to counter Soviet influence. So, expansion and conquest often make states more secure. It can pay huge dividends and block other states from acquiring additional power. Now, question, folks. I think you've all heard of ECOWAS, right? Who is the dominant country in ECOWAS?
Nigeria.
And why is that? Is it because they're Nigerians? Is it because their houses ruled? Is it because there's so many Igbos? No. It's because, number 1, they have the biggest economy in West Africa. Number 2, they have the most people. You ever had somebody, a bully or a boss, or someone say, you ask them, why'd you do it? Say, because I can.
Yeah.
That's why. Has nothing to do with nationality or ethnicity or anything like that. It's just because Nigeria has both the most people and the most resources, and it's inevitable they dominate ECOWAS. So, So Mearsheimer, according to John Mearsheimer, states which feel threatened will balance against potential hegemonies. Now the French were against a strong Nigeria, as it not only opposed a threat. You know why a strong Nigeria posed a threat to France? Because most of West Africa was colonized by whom?
The French.
Right, the French. There were exceptions like Ghana, Nigeria, Sierra Leone, the Gambia. But for the most part, most of West Africa was dominated by France. And a stronger Nigeria meant, France would lose control of its resources in the region. So the French government believed that if Biafra were to become independent, British influence in West Africa would be weakened. Wait, I thought Britain and France were supposed to be friends. Up in Europe, they're friends. Abroad, in places like Africa and parts of Asia, still fair game. I have to see. Oh yeah, here's something else. France was striking oil deals with both sides. They let the federal military government know, okay, we're siding with Biafra, but if things go wrong and the Biafra soldiers lose, then we'll go back to business as usual. They basically played two sides. They said, we're on their side, but if they lose, okay, we'll do business with you after all. Let's see. Oh yeah. Here's one. I hope I don't get in trouble for talking about this. Biafra signed a deal with a Rothschilds bank based in Paris. You ever heard of the Rothschilds bank? Anyone? The Rothschilds. It's a touchy subject. I'll say that to say the least. France refused to fully recognize Biafra until independence was gained. Paris was also prepared for Biafra to lose. Yeah, I already said that. Destroy diplomatic relations. There's a French colonel, Rolf Steiner, who was helping Biafra. Charles de Gaulle referred to French involvement as a just and noble cause, like what was talked about earlier by, what's his name, John Stuart Mill, a just and noble cause. And as I was saying, yeah, it's just a front to get resources. The Vatican condemned the federal military government of Nigeria for its actions. Predominantly Catholic France and Portugal, they used this to their advantage. Why? Because they believed their whole heart what the Catholic Church said? Hell no. Because they knew they could win hearts that way. Here's bishops with Colonel Ojukwu. Sorry, that's my pronunciation. Bishops with them. Let's see. Mearsheimer said states which feel threatened will balance against potential hegemonies. Now, here's another reason why Portugal got involved. See, Britain, France, Belgium, they already gave up their colonies in Africa. But the Portuguese remained. And one very staunch critic of Portuguese colonization in Africa was Nigeria. So Portugal had its own selfish motives. Yes, we helped the rebels. We actually look like the good guys. The country Sao Tome and Principe, which is off the coast, it was still a Portuguese colony at the time, and they would use it. They would use it as a base point to drop off supplies to rebels. In Port Harcourt, see. So wait a second. Okay. Oh yes, and here's another case. There was a Portuguese pilot who was dropping off, who was supplying the rebels. Well, his plane got shot down by the federal military government. He got taken captive and he was put in prison. Let's see. Yep, and there was a Belgian mercenary, Mark Goossens. He was killed during an attack in, how do you say that? Onitsha. Back in 1968. So when the Nigerian government was condemned for its actions on a worldwide basis, Lisbon, as in Portugal, took full advantage of it. And as I mentioned earlier, most of the media had condemned Portugal for keeping its colonies. Well, it took a lot of heat off. Them. Meanwhile, they still had Angola, Mozambique, Sao Tome and Principe, Guinea-Bissau, and Cabo Verde, also known as Cape Verde. So now more offensive realism. There's a term called buck passing, which is used in the conflict. Yeah, unfortunately, both sides, they let the federal government and the Biafrans fight each other like pawns on a chessboard while they obtained the resources. Well, sure, they supplied weapons and said it was a noble cause. Yeah. But France and Britain really just wanted to weaken one another and gain better access to the oil. And there's a similar story to this in Algeria. Although France and Britain were not fighting in Algeria, when that country was going towards independence, France asked the United States for help in finding oil because they didn't want Britain finding it. So I could just say, yeah, my methodology: qualitative data, archival research, peer-reviewed journal articles, some declassified documents. Yeah. You don't need to know this. Empirical data. Here's more. This is something else. A second. And now the limitations of it. Although history is told by the victors, this case may be an exception. The Nigerian government has changed at least 4 times since Biafra. How many military coups have they had? What, that Sani Abacha guy? Who else was it? Good luck. Yeah, the government has changed 4 times, so it's not fully told by the victors. And the information, even from the Nigerian side, would be biased against the military dictatorship at the time. So, now, countermeasures. Another article discussed how weakly positioned the Biafra army was and how they lacked a strong strategy because they were isolated and the military government cut them off at the port. So everything had to be airdropped. Let's see. Oh yes, within the Biafra army there was lots of infighting and betrayal. I read some articles about that one. Also, we have to see how much of it was accurate and how much was propaganda. And then there was the other part, seemed to be less covered. Some people who were working there in the field, some Westerners who worked in the oil fields there were captured by rebels. You heard about that? Yeah. But that wasn't discussed much, and it didn't have much significance to this presentation. But I was asked to do this, and I hope you enjoyed.
Oh. Thank you.
Any questions?
Yeah.
Comments?
My question. I have the mic.
Actually, I don't know. Maybe it's not a question, but a little observation. I was thinking that your research will be having a current time frame.
Well,
Because at least from 1967 till date, I don't know. Maybe you didn't research on that. Maybe the limitations in your time frame, but it's basically on 1967 because the Siam War is still going on. You understand? Now I'm talking about time frame of your research.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So what I observed from your research, you didn't put in the recent one that is going on because it spanned till now. So the agitation, they have tried everything in order to just wave it away, but the agitation is still ongoing now.
Right. This was made 6 years ago.
That is what I'm saying. That what I observed from your research is that the time frame has a limited, not on these contemporary issues now, because both 1967 war is still going on till today.
Yeah.
You understand? So my question is this. Within your knowledge and the scope of your study, there was a convention held in Helsinki. You understand? First convention was held in Helsinki, Finland. And that was when the Biafra people adopted a charter. So, and after the first convention, and I think a colonization was made as well, there was a second convention which happened in Lahti,
Oh, it finished.
in Lahti, Finland. You understand? Remember, first convention was held.
Huh?
Can we see the photo of
Oh, sure.
something that I just seen? Okay.
Yeah, here.
The first convention held in Helsinki,
Yeah.
Finland. That was when the leader of the agitation, the person that took over the agitation from the predecessor, adopted a charter, a Biafra charter. Now, after that convention that we had in Finland, another convention held in Lahti. First, we had in Helsinki. Another convention held in Lahti. That was when there is a redeclaration and restoration of the independent state of Biafra. So my question is this: is it right and just for an individual or a particular state, those people that live in abroad, they came together and had that convention, adopted the charter, and the second time they redeclared, because Biafra was an independent for 3 years or 3 years, as the case is, you understand? So they made a redeclaration upon the declaration that was held previously. You understand? So is it right, according to international law, for such thing to happen in another person's country, not in Nigeria, not in Biafra land, as the case should be? So is it right or just for a charter or for a convention to be held in another person's country, not in Biafra land? And the second convention that we had, they adopted the constitution. Some things, many things we are put in place. You understand? So my question is this: is it right, because we are following the international law, is it right for a such thing to happen in another person's country, not in Biafra land?
You mean to solve a conflict in another country, you mean? That's traditionally been done. It's had mixed results. I don't know if the word right is the correct term, but if there's a civil war going on, it's like, well, we're within a country. One recognizes, the other doesn't. Okay, here's one, for example, Somaliland. You know Somaliland? They want to break off from Somalia. So I don't think you're going to have much luck having a good conference in Mogadishu, or what's the cap of Somaliland, the breakaway? I forgot the cap, but you're not going to have much luck there. You might have it in a third country, but the term right, see, like I said earlier, when it comes to war, I don't really see so much right and wrong. I just see weaker and stronger. I just see someone who had better strategy, better resources, but I don't see the morally righteous either as the victors or the victims. I don't know if that answers your question.
Actually, I'm not clear on this.
He's saying that in the terms of war, I doesn't see, he cannot define it as whether right or wrong, but rather who has the resources, who has the power to do whatever he wants. That's how.
Okay. Actually, I'm not particularly focusing on the war. What I focus is was the activities that happened in the Finland. The people of Biafra, they had a convention in Helsinki. They call that Helsinki Declaration. There, they adopted a charter, and there was a war declaration there. Now, second convention held in Lahti. This one is not in Helsinki, in Lahti, Finland. And yeah, in Lahti, Finland. Yeah.
Which year is this happening?
Last year.
Okay.
I mean, this last year December.
You are talking about
Yeah, recent, the new. Yeah, because I told you. Yeah, the new declaration that we made. So I'm asking, Helsinki, charter we adopted.
But that's not an official position of the entire Biafra.
No, I'm talking as a wait. I'm asking, according to international law, is it correct to have such thing in another person's country, not in our own country? You understand? To redeclare.
First of all, you have to ask yourself whether the declaration is official and
I don't
representative
know.
of all Biafrans.
I don't. If we are talking about representative, we have a representative because many people were
Is
there.
it because you belong to the group or just because you think everybody should be there?
Everybody shouldn't be there. Are you not telling me that in voting in Nigeria, everybody votes? No, nobody, not everybody votes. You understand? My question here, my question
You
there.
are making it official group.
What, bro? See, now I want you to understand this. I want us to follow it internationally because now there was a group. You understand? And that is the group.
Every other.
Wait, I want to understand something. In Nigeria, don't understand the context of my question.
First of all, ask yourself whether the group is official representative of the people.
So they are the one agitating currently now. You understand? The group we are agitating.
His question is,
Yeah.
right for
How can we say whether they are right when they are not official?
They are the right people now. They're not. They came from Biafra land. You can't just say that they are the representative.
That is hypothetical.
You understand?
There's no need to ask the question because the point is that
You see that you're not there and I'm not there doesn't mean that there was no declaration.
no, there must be a
You may wait. They opened the room for everyone to come. You understand? Yeah. Everybody, they opened the room for everyone to come for that declaration. My question there is not that everyone are we there. My question there is there any legality? Is there legality? Is even though all of us were in the Finland, is it right and just according to international law?
But the point, I understand your question, but first of all, you have to.
Is it because that I'm not there, you're not there doesn't mean it's not. It's official. These are people. These are the group. Yes.
Why was Nnamdi Kanu demanding for referendum?
Yes.
Why was he demanding for referendum?
legitimacy.
Yes.
Why was it?
He has already asked that. Yeah.
I'm asking you, why was he demanding for
because we were in Nigeria and Nigeria was supposed to conduct a referendum for us. And a case where
why?
that is the normal process to follow.
You think that what those people are doing are legitimate?
That is the question I'm asking him.
No,
So it's not legitimate. But you already said that someone can wait. How is it not legitimate?
Because first, if you want to become a state,
Yeah.
you have to ask for a referendum first. That's what Nnamdi demanded for. Then after that, the next step follows.
Now let me clear you. Having asked about that, this is not the first day or the second day he has been asking for referendum from Nigeria, and yet they didn't. So, should you wait for Nigeria to conduct a referendum for you?
Whether we wait, that's not the point.
Yes.
The point is that
Should you wait? Because you as an individual can conduct a referendum by yourself.
All right, here.
Yeah.
All right. Well, okay. This is just my opinion. Repeat, opinion, and nothing more. If it were to happen in Nigeria, let's even say legitimate democracy, for example.
Yeah.
Do houses outnumber Igbos in Nigeria? Do they outnumber them? Let's say every Hausa and every Igbo got to vote. Okay.
Yeah.
Who would win? Who would have more votes?
If everyone votes.
If ever. Right. Yoruba stay out of it.
The Hausa will win. The Hausa they will win because they according to the number and the census counted. You understand? Right. The Hausa are more populated than Igbo. But if you have to examine it, we are more populated than them because before the era of the Fulanis. Yes, now I will say it, before the era of the Fulanis, what made them to be more populated than us is because they are not two. The Fulanis were not there. The Fulanis are an invasion. They transcended from Chad, Niger, and down to Sokoto and conquered, established their caliphate. Transcended that to you, establish a caliphate. Let me wait. I'm telling you, I'm going to the root, bro. Let me go to the root. This is a history. I cannot say that they are more populated than us. Something that is factual, bro. It's factual. I defended this on my project. Forget. I defended this. Now, they are more populated. They are more populated than us now. But why they are populated than us? Because they are now two. You understand?
Yeah.
Okay, now, there are two. Fulani and Hausa. Now let me make
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. So if the vote happened within Nigeria, the houses would win, even if it were legitimate democracy. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
Is that even if there were legitimate elections, the House would win surely by numbers. So where else do you settle it? At the African Union headquarters, that's in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia, right?
Yeah.
Well, I'm sorry, but I'm willing to bet that Addis Ababa favors Abuja over Port Harcourt, and I know. So I don't really have an answer to where such a dispute would be settled, because it couldn't be the AU. It definitely couldn't be in Nigeria itself, and so even by democracy, it wouldn't work. So no, I do not have an answer for that.
Okay, so thank you very much, Mr. Daniel, for the presentation. So, any question? Do you want to ask me any question from this topic as well? Thank God he's here. He can help to clarify. Do you have any question or any clarification concerning this topic?
There is one of the slides have a picture as like any Ojukwu, something like that.
This one?
No. Go. The one with the clergy.
Oh, the one with the clergy, the bishops. Okay. I get there were people who tried to come in to assist. Okay, look at it here. This one, right? Mm-hmm. The bishops with Biafran colony.
This is Odumegwu Ojukwu. This is not any.
Okay, this is Ojukwu. The picture there is Ojukwu, not Njoko.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, supposed to be the level. Correct.
Okay, so is that all you wanted to correct, or any question?
I will know if it's another character.
Okay, yeah. Okay, it's an Odumegwu Ojukwu meeting with the bishops. Okay, any other question or clarification concerning this? Remember, we are trying to look at it from the point of view of theory of conflict, peace, and security. Now, if I may ask, was there peace after all this?
No, the conflict is still, there is still like internal conflict, like internal struggles between Biafra and Nigeria. It's kind of I don't want to use the word cold. It's actually a cold war, but there's a conflict. You understand? The Biafrans are still they're not satisfied with the outcome of the war and the way everything went, and the support that Nigeria got from external forces. So there's still grudges, there's still grumbling, So right now, as we speak, there is there is no peace. Kind of, the conflict is still on. You get. So I think that was what he was referring to. Like, what is his question is like what we learned right now is the historical event that happened. So what is the relationship with the current situation of Nigeria? How does that affect the relationship with Nigeria and Biafra? You understand? That was what he was trying to refer to.
Okay, so in other words, we all agree that the conflict continues.
Yes, the conflict.
And there is no peace, and there is insecurity still.
Yes.
That's the point in Nigeria.
Yeah.
So that's something to say.
I say Emmanuel wanted to say something.
I asked a question. Where is Biafra?
Biafra is located in the south.
I beg, forget you.
South part of Nigeria.
Actually, the conflict, it could have stopped. Reason I say this because after the war, there was a promise. The previous president, Yakubu Gowon, he promised three program. Is it restructuring, rehabilitation, and the other one I just forgot about it. But these three programs he established, he made the comment, and he didn't even look into it.
Now, so that's why it continued.
Yeah,
right?
Because the conflict we are not addressed till today, and they are running away from it because they know.
So, is there any solution?
The solution is there now. Solution is to give them what they are demanding for.
What are they demanding?
They are demanding for self-determination. They want to rule themselves because Nigeria is not treating them fairly.
Okay, so how do we get it?
The way we are, that is the process we are now.
What's the process?
The process is that Nnamdi Kanu, who is the leader of indigenous people of Biafra, is in DSL dungeon. And you have already seen what is internet. They are just playing it, doing all kinds of things.
That's what I'm saying. What's the solution?
The solution is for them to bring him out and give him that, conduct a self-referendum for the Southeastern.
Okay, maybe we'll send you to go and tell Tinubu.
I can, man. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much. Anyway, the point is that the solution is what we are looking for. Some people will say a solution is prayer. They keep praying for Nigeria in distress and we have been praying for it for a long time. Even myself, I don't know the solution. Mr. Daniel, what do you think is the solution in Nigerian insecurity and conflict between the tribal people?
Okay, yeah. As far as the tribal thing, there's two extreme opinions that I've heard. Some people have said everybody, okay, this is by less educated. They think there was no tribal or ethnic conflict before Europeans showed up. Ever heard that theory? Yeah, and others, would say, oh, well, some people said, oh, they came and civilized. Others say they came and caused problems. No, the problems were already there. There were already problems between Igbo and Yoruba and Hausas before Europeans colonized. But Europeans made it worse by drawing borders, the Berlin Conference. So they went from bad to worse. Because, there's some Yorubas over in Benin and Togo and even as far as Ghana. Hausas spread into Chad and I think Niger too, right? And so I think the tribal thing that's been going on since way before colonialism, way before oil was discovered, but now people fighting over oil, that just makes it all the more worse. And as long as this whole world's depending on oil, I don't see any solution in any near future.
But would you agree with some of us that actually, so long as the Western world, the Western power, just as you mentioned about resources is the issue, not ethical war crime or whatever, but who has the resource. So right. Sometimes some of us tend to think that the problem still goes to the powers that be, because once they tend to create the situation that which will exacerbate the problem because they have a particular interest.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if you agree with some of us, because even when you talk about the voting system and who becomes the president, I guess and I think some Western world, they still put their hand there and try to manipulate things. That's exactly what happened in Niger, and some military people have taken over. Burkina Faso and Mali, and now they are becoming stronger because they just removed France, and France is now So in the same situation in Nigeria, because I don't think something is not too difficult. First of all, the structure of Nigeria has been, we are structural violence, they call it. The one we talk two types of peace, positive peace and negative peace. So it's just like creating a structure.
Mm-hmm.
That would be very difficult for Nigeria to be at peace.
Mm-hmm.
As a matter of fact, if I'm from the Anambra, I want to be the president of Nigeria. Very difficult. I need a north because of the way it has been structured. Mm-hmm. Because the northern part, they have more states. And then to win a presidency, you have to get 25% from every state. There are 36 states, right? Mm-hmm. And the east is only 5. The other part is just south or whatever. They are about 3 or 4. So if you combine it, it's very difficult for Easterner to be the president without the help of the Northerner. And this was, in my own view, intentionally structured by the British government. And again, part of our problem may appear to be the constitution we are having now is not the constitution of the people. May have been manipulated and facilitated by the Western power, that we are being coordinated and ruled by that. I don't know what you think about that.
Oh, I absolutely agree, except for one thing, and this goes deeper. It's not the British government that's doing it, it's the people that control the British government. The oil
On
companies.
behalf of the British
Yeah,
government.
yeah, the British are the representatives, but no, the oil companies also control the British government and U.S. government and other ones. And yes, it is a fight. You've heard all those coups across Africa: Guinea, Mali, Central African Republic, Burkina Faso. Those are all former French colonies. Right. They're, like you said, they're full of resources. Now France doesn't have control of them, but who does?
Mm.
Do you think that they're, I hate to say it like this, but it's like core and peripheral relations. Those are smaller countries. And look, you can't just, if you're a smaller country like Burkina Faso, you can't just give the US or France the middle finger and walk away free. You have to have some, what do you do then? You have to have another country backing you, and who is that other country? Yeah. China funded the coup, but Russia provided the weapons for places like Burkina Faso, Guinea, Mali, and all that, and Niger. So now they all have control. And why? And Niger, that has uranium, yellow cake uranium, stuff to make weapons. So that was a big loss for the West. In fact, a lot of people didn't even know that Westerners were even there. They said, oh, 8 American soldiers were killed in Niamey, Nigeria. It's like, okay, what were they doing there in the first place? Yeah. So now that it's out of the West's hands, it's now in Russia's and China's hands. And that's not about ethnicity, race, or nationality. It has to do everything with core and periphery.
Thank you very much. Any other comment about this? Emmanuel, do you have more to bamboozle us with? Okay. Okay, thank you very much. Let's start for Mr. Daniel for sharing this thought with us. So, who is the next? But we'll be on break. We have to be on break before you start. No, there's need for that. This is an intellectual